Today's daf is Masech's Nedarim Daf Mem Beis. So we're up to the Mishnah, which is exactly 6 lines from the bottom and Mem Aleph from the base. The Mishnah is going to discuss additional dinim which are usher when by somebody that is Meider Hana from his friend. So the Mishnah says like this: La yoichal min ha'evis. A Meider should not eat with a Madir from an avis. The avis is like that big tray which they give to behemoths when they gather to eat from. Shalafnei ha'poyalim. She should not eat from the avis that is in front of the workers, that it's meant for them to eat from it. So what's the chiddush? The chiddush is that you should not say that there's so much food in it, like we saw in the previous halachas in the Mishnah, in the Gemara, that you might think there's so much food in it, so even if the madir doesn't take a little, it's not going to make a dent, it doesn't make a difference. No, because since the workers, they work so hard, and because they work so hard, they get so hungry and they eat a lot. So if the madir is going to hesitate from taking a little bit, then the moider may get a hana, because his not taking may have an effect on how much food is going to be left in that avos to eat for the moider. Zok the Gemara, la yasa imoi be'omen. The madir is not allowed to dig in the same row of when they plant in the plants as the moider is not allowed to dig in the same row as the madir. Divrei Meir, that is what Meir holds. The Chum hold oisa v'hu berachik mimenu. He is allowed to dig in the same row, but it has to be far away from him so that he's not really doing it in any way that's helping him. Zak dehelig Gemara. Bekaruv loy pligi. So it's going back on the last halacha of the Mishnah. Machlokes or Meir the Chachamim, if he's allowed to dig, with moider allowed to dig with madir in the same row. So Zak the Gemara. Bekaruv loy pligi da asir. If the moider is digging close to the madir, that's klar. Side Meir, side Chacham hold that it's asir, because the moider is having hana from the fact that the madir is digging in the same row, it's close to him, and it's making the ground soft, it's making his job easier. Ki pligi, when is there a machlokes berachik? When the madir is digging far from the moider. So what's the machlokes? Or Meir savar gazrin and rachak mishum kar, that you guys are, even though he's far, it's aser because maybe he'll come to dig close to him, to come and wrap it al ar kamei. And the reason why kar will be aser is because he's making the ground soft. So it's making the moider's job easier to dig. Rabbanan savar gazrin, Rabbanan hold that no, we're not geyser rachak mishum karav, and therefore it is mutter. Zak tehelig Mishnah mem beis manaf top line. So this Mishnah is going to discuss halachas, whether the moider is allowed to have anah from the sod of the madir, from his field and his fruits in a Shemitah year specifically. Zak tehelig Mishnah amud anah mechaveroi. If somebody asks his friends hana from his nechasim lifnei shvius, and this neder was before the shvius year, so halacha is eino yored l'seich sadeu. The moider is not allowed to go into the field of the madir. Ve'eino yoichol min hanoitos, and he's also not allowed to eat from the plants that are outside the field, from the plants that are like bending outside the field. So he's not allowed to go into the field. The Mishnah said, any yoyer is not allowed even to go into the field. But going into the field, like the Mishnah is assuming, that's hana. V'b'shvius, if he asked about hana b'shvius, the halacha is any yoyer l'sich sadeu is not allowed to go into the madir's field. Aval oichel humanatiyas hanotis. However, from the plants that are bending outward of his field, that's a mutter, because since in shvius all the fruits of one's field are hefker, they have nothing to do with the madir, and the net is not chal on them. So it's clear in the Mishnah, he's not, although it's shvius and the Torah asered, the Torah was mafker, everything from the field to people, so the Choresh mutter to go into this field. So how come he's not allowed to go into this field? The Gemara is going to bring a machlokes amirah, what's the reason? But however, the gabi eating the netias that are noitis outside the field, that's mutter. Zok the Mishnah, another halacha, Another himenu Michael. What happens if he didn't answer on his friend everything, all on us? He only answered Michael, eating. So Lefnei Shvius, it was before Shvius allowed to go into his field because he's allowed to go into the field because it's not on us Michael, it's just going to the field. But Ve'ena Ilchom and Aperis, he's not allowed to eat from the pears of the mother because that's on us Michael. And if B'Shvius, what happens if he was made a neder on Shvius? So he's allowed to go into his field because it's not on us Michael. Ve'oichon is allowed to eat from the fruit of the sada. Why? Because in Shvius they're hefker. Zokt the Gemara. Rav Shmuel Darmit Havayu. Rav and Shmuel both say that if somebody's moider hana from his friend and he tells him nechasim elu alecha, these nechasim are asar on you. Lefnei Shvius, before Shvius, the halacha is ein yored sechdeu is not allowed to go into the field. Ve'ena oichal min anoites is not allowed to eat from the ones that are bending outside the mother's field. Ve'afal pishagia Shvius, and even though it reaches the year of Shvius and everything's mufker, all the pears of the field are mufker to everybody. So Zakti Gemara, even though it reached Shvius and everything's mufker, so Zakti Mishnah still it's going to be aser because the neder is chal. The neder is chal and the pears became aser before Shvius, so that iser does not go away on Shvius. The im b'shvius, if what happens he did it on Shvius, halacha is ein yor l'sechsadeu. The moider is not allowed to go into the field of the madir on Shvius, because even on Shvius he could ask the karka on him. He can't ask the fruits of the karka, but the madir could ask the karka on him that he could. Aval oichel menanoitis, he is allowed to eat from the fruits that are bending outward the field. Why? Because Shvius, it doesn't belong to the madir, and he cannot asa them. He doesn't have the power to asa them. So, lefnei Shvius, the Gemara's understanding is talking about that makes it before the Shemitah year arrives, and then it's aser even when Shemitah comes. Shemitah comes because it was already chal, and b'Shvius, as the Mishnah says, b'Shvius, it means on Shvius he made the neder, and that's when it's going to be mutter and achilas pears because his fruits do not belong to him on Shvius. So Zakti Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish Darmin Tervai, Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish both say, Nechasai alecha lefnei Shvius. If somebody says, if a guy tells his friend, Nechasai alecha asr to you before Shvius, ein yor l'sechsadei, who's not allowed to go to the mother's field, ve'ein oichol menanoites, not oichol menanoites. But higia Shvius, if with that same neder all of a sudden Shvius arrives, turns into the 7th year, he's not allowed to go into his field. So Higia Shvius, any year is not allowed to go into his field. Ava oichel hus hanoitis, he could eat the noitis. So the Gemara is understanding these words from Yochanan and Shlakish that if he makes a neder before Shvius and then Shvius arrives, then it's mutter to eat the pears on Shvius. So that's a machlekes from what we just said in Rav Shmuel, and it's a machlekes on it's machlekes. This Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish is arguing Rav Shmuel what we just said, but Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish are going to have to learn the Mishnah that this is the Mishnah said lefnei Shvius means he made the neder before Shvius. And b'Shvius doesn't mean necessarily that he made the neder on Shvius. It just means that he made the neder before Shvius, but now Shvius arrived. So that's how, obviously, Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish can't argue on the Mishnah, so that's how this Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish shita that says when Shvius arrives, when he becomes mutter, they're going to have to learn that the Mishnah says b'Shvius, it doesn't mean he made the neder on Shvius, rather he made it before. So, maybe say the machlekes, pshat on the machlekes is like this. The Rav Shmuel Savri, Adam Oyser, and Davar Shebeshusay. Rav and Shmuel hold that a person could aser something that's in his rishos, and it stays with that iser as long once he made the neder when it was his rishos. I feel like rishos even after it leaves his rishos. Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish Hasabri, they hold no. You cannot aser something when it's in your rishos for later on when it's going to go out of rishos. It means if it goes out of rishos later on, then you don't have rishos to aser it. And therefore, if you matter it hana from him before Shvius, it does not become aser on Shvius itself later on when Shvius arrives. You don't have the power to do that. So that's what tomorrow. That's where Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish hold that they're arguing on Rav and Shmuel. So like more of a tizbara. could you say that that's what they're arguing on? Mikol Amanda Amar Inanam Oisadavar Shabashusa Shabashusa. The Mandamala holds that a person cannot answer something on someone else after it goes on his Rishos. So the Gemara wants to know: is it taka mandamar? Is it taka possible that Riyach Shlokish can hold like that you can't answer davar shabashusay for after it goes on Rishos? For the Gemara in Cain, why didn't Riyach Shlokish say their halacha in a case where a guy told his friend nechasi alayich, that my nechasim are also on you? He should have said niflige b'nechasim elu. Should have said not when I'm mine nechasim. Because mine would be mashma that I'm answering when it's mine. If it's not mine, I can't answer. If let Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish say b'nechasim elu, the kolshke b'nechasai. Let's say the halacha you can't answer when it goes out of Rishus, even when he's saying a lashon nechasim elu, which is mashma answering the nechasim themselves, and not because it's nechasi alai, not because it's my nechasim. And if Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish says still then the iser is paka, then then you'll know for sure when he's saying nechasai that the iser is not going to be chal for his man that it's not in Rishos. From the fact that Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish said their din when a guy says nechasai nechasi alecha, the fact that Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish said their din when a guy said nechasai alecha is mashma that the dafka said their din when the guy said this specific lashon nechasai alecha, and not when somebody said nechasim elu, these nechasim. It's mashma that the reason it's not usher is only because the mashma is a lashon, because the guy said nechasai. As long as I'm mine, I want it to be usher, but I don't want it to be usher. But mashma nechasim elu, avada they would be usher. Maybe they would stay usher even if they go out of rishos. It's like more of a suit. Another question, I'll tell you if this is what you want to say. The machlekes is hatanan the other most never shushay yeshim shushay. It's a before shul mishnah, but bekama kuf chesim beis that somebody could answer something in his rishos for when they go out of his rishos. Why? The Tanakh learned in the Mishnah. Kuf chesim beis baba kama ha'omer lemnoi. Somebody tells his son koinim sha'atanenali. I'm answering everything that you have enough from me. The halacha is it's chal in the father's lifetime. Mace, what happens if the father dies? Yereshenu. The son could yashim and he's allowed to have enough from his chasim. But if the father said, Koinim b'chayav u'b'moisai, he said, I'm answering in my lifetime, and even after he passes and he dies, so halacha is a mace lo Yereshenu. Then the son should not yashim. He's not allowed to have more because not allowed to have enough from the father's chasim. Since he asked them no, even after the father dies, is muchach from them. You see from this that a person could ask his nechasim even after his man, even after the guy dies, when the nechasim are not his. You see, he's allowed. He has the power to ask them. So it's not yitachin that Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish would argue on this Mishnah on Baba Bakam Daf Kufches. So Zok the Gemara Shani Hacha. So apparently the Gemara is chayzer from the pshat it's saying Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish. That the reason why Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish hold that it's chal even after Shvius is because of that reason that we're saying, because he can't answer something after from when it's not in his rishos. So the Gemara wants to know, but what's pshat in the Mishnah Baba Kama? Lamaisi, you see in the Mishnah Baba Kama, the guy could answer something after when it's not in his rishos. So the Gemara Mishnah Baba Kama is shani hacha the ka'amar lei. Because the father told the son specifically, b'chayiv u'moisei. And in that case, that's why it's aser. And ma'ashenkin machlekes amaram is not in the case where he said b'chayiv u'moisei. He's specifically in the case where he said nechasim elu. So that's when Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish hold that his whole kavanah was to aser when it was rishos. Ma'ashenkin Rav Shmuel is like the more pshat in the machlekes is that's Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish held. The kavanah was only when it was rishos, specifically when it said nechasim elu. And Rav Shmuel, pshat is they held that it's that his kavanah was to answer even after it's also Meshusay. So for Gemara Mikol Makoim Kasha, Lamaisi still have the first Kasha. That if Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish hold Nechasim Elu, and pshat is not mischaven to aser it after they go out of the shos, and that's why Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish holds that it's not chal b'shvius. So then why does it say? Why did Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish chap on lashon nechasai? Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish said a lashon of, what was the lashon again? Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish's lashon was Nechasei alecha. Someone tells his friend nechasei alecha. So if the hold the shita even by nechasim elu, why do they have to chap on lashon nechasei? So Zok the Gemara, the Gemara says no. Hold it from pshat and machlik is riyach and shlakish. Ela benechasim elu kulam elapliki. Zok the Gemara. So when someone says nechasim elu, Zok the Gemara, no, you're right. Everybody agrees that the iser is kaim even after it goes out as rishos. So ki pligi, when is there a machlekes Rav Shmuel and Riyach and Shlakish? Ki pligi. So again, so nechasim elu, everybody agrees that the iser is kaim. Ki pligi b'nechasai. So Rav Shmuel hold l'shen nechasim elu, l'shen nechasai. It's always aser. Iser is always kaim, even after it goes out of rishos. Doesn't make a difference what lashon you say. And Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish Sabri, Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish hold that nechasim elu, if a guy says nechasim elu, then adam oiser, then he could aser even after it goes out as rishus, because mashmoyis haloshin is that the iser is not totally with anything with the person that's making the nether. It's just in the nechasim, he wants to always aser them. But nechasai in the oiser. But Rav Shmuel hold, the guy says nechasai, his kavanah is not to asen them forever, only as long as they are his nechasim. So according to this mahalach of the Gemara, so l'kuli alma you're going to say, l'divrei hakol you're going to say that if you make a neder before Shvius, the neder does not go off on Shvius. And only if you make a neder on Shvius, then the neder is not chal. That's how you're going to have to learn the Mishnah, like the Pashup Pshat. And the machlekes Rav Shmuel Yochanan is in which case is the Mishnah talking about? Rav Shmuel hold that the Mishnah is talking about sai if you say nechasim elu and sai if you say nechasai, both of them this is chal forever. Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish say that no, that the whole case of the Mishnah is only to say nechasim elu. But if a guy says nechasai, then we say he does not intend to aser it forever, and when Shvius comes around, he's not intended to aser it for Shvius, and it's going to be mutter. So that the Fidas Mahalach, that's the Gemara is learning machlekes Rav Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish. Frakti Gemara, miyukol amanda amar deloishna nechasim elu v'loishna nechasai. Is there a man that amar that holds that there's no difference if you say nechasim elu or you say nechasai? That both of them are going to say you're left over with the iser even after it goes out as rishos, like we touched up in Rav Shmuel. But Tanam Frakti Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah later on that Ha'aymer lechaber, somebody tells a friend koinim l'soich beis chashani nichnas, that he asks on himself the hana from going into his friend's house, or he says, or going into his friend's house, or he says, he asks on his friend, he asks on himself the field that he's buying from his friend. The halacha is mace, the Baal Bayis dies, or the Baal Sada, if he sells to somebody else, mutter, then the noider is allowed to go into this house or to buy it. Why? Because what was the lashon he said from that? He said beis cha. He said kanim seich beis cha shani nechasa. That means as long as it's yours. If it changes rishuyos, it's not us anymore. But Zakna Mishnah later on in Vav Meralf, what happens if the guy says Labai Zeh Shani Nechnas or Sada Zu Shani Nechnas? But he says this house, not your house, not Beis Cha, not Sad Cha. Then what's the halacha? Meis Hashem Char La'achar. It's still aser. So what do you see? You see, it makes a difference what lashon you use. So how is it shaykh to say in Rav and Shmuel that they hold sai v'sei nechasai and sai v'sei nechasim elu? The halacha is always aser. You see clear in the Mishnah and Vav Meralf. It makes a difference if you say Beis Cha or Bayezeh, or if you say Sad Cha or Sadazu, it doesn't become aser forever. You see, it makes a difference in l'shainis. Zak the Gemara. Zak the Gemara, whole new pshat here. The about this taken no machlekes at all. Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Ella ki amri Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. When did Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish say that you cannot ask something when it goes out of your rishus for when it goes out of your rishus later on? Dafka ben nechasai. Dafka, if he makes a neder and it says nechasai, so then you cannot ask her later on. And then Rav and Shmuel even agree that the issur doesn't stay after it goes out of your rishus, and that would take a shtim with the Mishnah later on Memvav. Rav Shmuel say that the issur stays. That's b'nechasim elu. That's when they say nechasim elu, and that Rabbi Yochanan agree. V'lo yipling, and they're not arguing, and that would take a shtim with the Mishnah later on Memvav that we just bought, very geschmack. So if this pshat, if this maskana, the Mishnah comes out that the Mishnah, the halacha, the Mishnah, everyone's just come and say a different halacha. There's no machlekes, and according to everybody, the Mishnah is talking about a case where it says nechasim elu, and therefore, if he makes a neder before Shvius, the neder does not go off because it's a nedarim elu. It wasn't told in my nechasim nechasayit and nechasim elu. However, if he makes that neder on Shavuos, then the neder is lachal because it doesn't have a koyach to aser these payers because they don't belong to him, and you can't aser something that doesn't belong to you. That's regular halachas and hektish. Zok the Gemara weiter. Uve Shvius, the Mishnah said if he made the neder on Shvius, he's not allowed to go into the land. So Pashup Pshat is because he's allowed to ask the land in him. But he could he could eat from the Natias over there that are bending out as a shus, because the payers don't belong to the owner on Shvius. Zok the Gemara Maishno, the Oicham and Anoitis. Why? The payer def keret. Why is allowed to eat from the noitis? What's pshat? Why is Allah Mishnah allowed to eat from that? Because those are hefker. So fracking Gemara, aranami hefkera. The ground is also hefker in Shvius. So why is it not allowed to walk into his rishus? Anybody's allowed to walk in, right? It's hefker. Anybody's allowed to walk in there. So how can the Bailam ask for the land? That's what the Gemara wants to know. So the Gemara two terutzim. Amar Ula, it's talking about that there are trees on the edge of the field next to Rishus Harabim. So since technically you could pick from the pears without going to Rishus, so those specific fruits, the Torah was not mafker. That area, the Torah was not mafker, the karka, shaloy l'tzarech achilas pears. That means if you could get to the fruits on that tree without stepping on that ground, because you can go outside of the guy's boundaries and you go on Rishus Harabim, the Torah was not mafker you to walk on that ground. But Avada, the Mishnah would agree that the moeder is allowed to go into the middle of the field in order to pick fruits that are found in the middle of the mother's field. That's one teretz. Another pshat, Dr. Reb Shimon Yaakov Amar, he says, Dr. Shimon Yaakov, that it's a gezerah. That me'ikra didn't stack a mutter. But the chacham answered that gezerah shem yishav amida. Maybe you'll stand there. You'll pick your fruits, but maybe you'll stand there a little bit extra, and that standing extra is going to be usher, and you'll be over on the neder, and you'll be over isser. Because the whole heter of the Torah to mafker, the sada, was only l'tzayrich, that you could pick the fruits on the sada. But once you stand there extra, that's going to be a problem. And according to this pshat in the Gemara, all the ilanas are going to be usher on the field, sai on the edge, sai in the middle of the field, everything will be usher.